Hello and welcome. I am so excited, you guys. This is day 3 of our workshop, helping you get 6 figures from Facebook. You guys, I am so pumped. I know we have been talking about Miss Dana since we've started this workshop. She is the queen. She is a boss mom, an author, a thought leader, and she is literally the queen of nurture marketing. And you've heard me say it a million times. It is all about how we nurture, how we relate, how we connect with others that makes a huge difference. So I want to make sure that you are ready for what's to come. So give it up for Miss Dana Malstaff. Hello.
Hi, how are you doing? I feel very underdressed compared to you right
Oh
now.
my goodness. Whatever. You look literally
I feel very
perfect.
blingy. I showered today and that was impressive for me.
Oh my gosh, I love you. I overdress for everything, but since I don't think that overdressing is a thing, I'm totally good with it. I'm like, okay, cool. We're good. We're
Oh, I
good.
love to overdress. I put heels on to the grocery store for like my 30 minutes of overdressing. I'm all about it. Yeah.
I love it. You literally look perfect. It is so amazing to have you here because I think, part of your story that has inspired me the most is how you put yourself and your family first before your business. And I know for entrepreneurs, that is a big thing because so many of us struggle with this, right? Like we are so busy pushing to all of the needs, all of the things that we're being asked to do, and we forget ourselves in the middle of it. So I'm excited to get into your philosophies and how you've built what you've done. So let's start off for our listeners that are brand new to the party. Can you talk a little bit about what Boss Moms is and what you've built?
Yeah. So I did not intend on having being a mom be at all part of what I was doing. I'd actually, when I left the last corporate company that I worked for, because the husband and wife were CEO and CMO, and they were splitting, and everybody he had hired on the marketing side was all getting let go because she was pushing him out. And so I could see the writing on the wall. So I had basically was like, I'm going to go find a new job now. And when I went out, there wasn't any job I really wanted. And a mentor of mine said, well, Dana, why don't you just be a consultant? Because then you don't have to be anybody's, employee. You can go just work for the people you want. There's a lot more freedom. And I was like, that sounds amazing. So quit the job and basically was going to set out to be my own like leadership consultant and facilitate workshops, and then 6 weeks later found out that I was expecting, and we'd been trying for a long time, but I was working 14-hour days and there was no time to for my body to think it could have a baby. So I found myself pregnant and starting my business at the same time. And fast forward to moving here, back to California where I'm originally from, and recognizing that there's all of these other women feeling this same tug of having a baby and trying to figure out how they can do that plus be a valuable human being and a woman, and make money that they used to make but now they're not making, and all of those things. It's what made me write the book Boss Mom, and we wrote it back in 2015. We're actually in the process of doing a second edition, which I'm is a complete rewrite, which I'm really excited about. But when I wrote it, it was to not just because now after 8 years we have built systems that are completely different for moms, for people who have disruptive schedules. We also get a lot of people who have family members that are sick or have chronic illnesses, because there isn't the blocking of time, the scheduling everything the way that we should just doesn't work. So we've got all those now, but in the beginning it was about the belief system. It was about the identity tug to what it means to care for your family and to care for your own impact in the world, and to care about who you are and what you grow into, while you're also supposed to care about what these little beings turn into, and then your partner and your spouse and how that all integrates. It's all very hard and confusing a lot of the times, especially where you should be putting your priority. It's guilt laden, and it is a constant struggle for many. And so that is what we wanted to tell you, is that you're not alone. There's so many people struggling with this, and there are ways to work through that. I didn't realize at the time that there were so many people that would go, holy crap, yes, I agree with you. And I would love to have this conversation. And let's be in a community where we don't feel alone or judged for wanting to run our own thing and do our own thing. And I mean, that was 2015, and we've been boss momming the crap out of everything ever since.
Wow, that's incredible, and it's so inspiring too, because I love how humble you are, even with all of your success, and even as you've built and grown. And I know you've spoken publicly about that, how you're like, oh my goodness, like I really built all of this, and it feels kind of weird to be at this level now. But I think when you are intentional about building something for a community that is going to need it, and you're being mindful of what you need as a mom. And I'm like the same. My son is 3.5, and the Boss Moms group gives me so much joy. I have so much fun going into it and hearing what other women are feeling and thinking. It just makes you feel like you're not alone. It's very much like a support group. So I think
Mhm.
that's awesome. But in business, so you actually get opportunities. Now, can you tell us, like, obviously, like, we're a long way from first member. You've got over 73,000 members now and
Mhm.
growing. Um, how did you get started building that audience? Because
Yeah.
it's like such a unique gift to go from 0 to 73,000 plus. And also a lot of people I think struggle with that thought of like getting started and feeling, "Oh, it's too small, it's not enough," and forgetting that there is just one person who needs to hear it, and then that becomes 100 million one day. So, can you talk
Yeah.
a little bit about that?
Yeah, and it's important to recognize too that we could be double, triple that size. There's a lot, at least half the people that ask to get in. We get about 100 requests a day. About half of those we say no to because they are not a good fit. They don't look like they could having good intentions. Like I pay somebody specifically now with the volume we have to look at that. So numbers are not what matter. We could have grown a lot faster. Community and culture is what matters. So when you're getting started, and I would tell people that the smaller group is better. A smaller group performs better. It engages better. It's more intimate. We believe that you can grow at the size we have and still be intimate, but I don't get seen as much in my own group as I used to. I used to be able to sell in a much more massive, like I put a sell out in a day and just it goes frenzy and crazy because everybody knows me. Now I've moved much more into a mentor state where there's just a different way that you nurture. So just recognize that being bigger isn't always easier or better. There are different ways then that we have to nurture in order to help create sustainability for the business. When you're getting started, though, there's a couple things. There's what you do to establish the culture. There's what you do to facilitate your community continuing that culture. And then there's what Facebook does to help other people know you're cool. Because if it thinks you're the cool kid in school, it will tell everybody about it. If they thinks nobody cares about you, then it's not going to help you. And you want Facebook's help because that's where all the easiness comes in. Is all of a sudden you become recommended to people. So there's these three layers, and the first layer is that setting of the culture, setting of the rules. And those are some decisions that I think people skip when they go to create a community because we talked about the how do we balance family and work. Well, one of the things when you are an entrepreneur, when you're somebody who is a starter, you start things, you do things, you build things, we all know that we're pretty smart, we know that we're pretty capable, and so what we do is we take on everything, and a community and a culture is based on not taking on everything but being the leader and the facilitator that allows other people to take on roles so that it grows. So the first mistake when you're building your community and it's small is thinking that you're the one that has to grow it. And so when you go in setting that culture, we could totally talk about how you do those things, but you set that culture, then you help facilitate, and there's a specific methodology to this, getting people to engage in the community on a very small way. This can work with less than 100 people in a group, and then from that engagement, Facebook picks up on you being cool, and then it grows it for you, so you can make those milestones pretty quickly. But it's more important that the culture stays where it should be and your group understands what it's getting, so that you become a daily interaction and a habit for your audience. It's better to have people feel that your group is a habit and a place and a home, their local Cheers bar that they go to, so to speak, and a small level, than it is to try and grow really fast, but nobody has any loyalty for you, if that makes sense.
That makes perfect sense. And I love how you talked about leveraging Facebook in an organic way, because I think that is the big question for a lot of people. You know, I always say, like, hey, look, like we're not all cut out for all the same things. And I think a lot of people feel all this pressure, right? Like, oh my gosh, like Dana did that. I need to do the exact same thing. And I feel like it's always that balance of receiving data and learnings and then like putting it into your business. Cause if you kind of chase everything that you hear about, you're going to be like a little dandelion blowing in the wind, you know?
Yeah.
But if you listen and you're like, okay, this really resonates to me, or that is exactly what I need to do, how do I do that? Because, building something like culture and nurturing it is a very specific skill set. Like that's definitely something. And I know that you do accelerators
Yeah.
where you help people. It's called Nurture to what is it?
Yeah, Nurture to
Convert.
Convert is
Nurture to
our is
convert.
our is our system. So we have a registered trademark for the Nurture to Convert system and a very specific way of nurture marketing. And then our accelerator is the place where our like high end members go.
That's amazing. So can you talk a little bit about nurturing? Because I know that's your passion. That's like your focus. And that's what's working so many for. I love that some of your clients, like at least one of them I know about, has moved up and actually works for you now. So how fun
Yeah.
to be able to make that decision and stay connected in the community and then actually like build a business off of it. That's really cool. But can you talk about like the science, the logic behind nurturing and why it works and what makes it not work?
Yeah, yeah, and also it's important to recognize that community. I mean, nurture doesn't have to mean you have a physical community. Nurture could be a sense of community. For instance, Apple has no social presence whatsoever at all. Yet there is a sense of community around. It's grown a little bit bigger, but in its when I was going to college and it was the beginning of the Apple empire. You could sense that it was this upheaval, this culture of simplicity, this culture of upsetting the status quo. So even though they didn't have a community or a social presence, they had a sense of community. So just recognize that nurturing doesn't mean you have to have a set of people that all meet together. And because for some industries that doesn't work. There are industries where this is what I tell people is you have to understand when you're going to nurture how someone feels about the problem you're trying to solve, about the thing you're trying to talk about, right? They're either public about it, they're either private about it, or they're unconscious about it, right? So the people that aren't even willing to admit that that problem is a real problem or that the way you might solve it is the right way to solve it. We see a lot of this in the, in the medical field, in the health field, those kinds of things, right? Then those are not good people to build community around because they're not going to be positive about it. They're not going to be open about it. They're not going to want to talk about it. If they're private about it, that's actually a really great place for community in most senses because they don't want to go share it out with the rest of the world. If you go put something on social media, on Instagram or LinkedIn or any of the other places, then and nobody shares it, it's because the content could be better, but sometimes it's because they don't really want their friends to know that's a problem or a thing that they're looking at. Communities that we build that are in Facebook are really great because they're like moms. Moms aren't going to go out to everybody they know and talk about how guilty they feel, talk about how hard it is, talk about the struggles that they're dealing with. They want to go out to the world and tell them how successful they are and how happy they are and how great things are. So recognize when we know things are public, private, and unconscious. And when we do that, then we can understand where we build the community and what needs to be nurtured. When we talk about nurture marketing, we've got three main segments. We talk about so there's nurture messaging, there's results messaging, and there's conversion messaging, or the way we break it up. Nurture messaging is about creating belonging and a shared vision of a future, right? It's about talking about things where you go, you're not alone. We both like these things. My favorite example is running, right? I don't like running. I have asthma. I've never liked running. I don't get why anybody would get up and just run in one direction and then run back. It makes no sense to me. I'm a skill builder, so I want to do like ballet, MMA. I want to, learn archery and things like that. So running makes no sense to me. So when I hang out with people that run, I've actually dated back in the day people who were runners, and they would be like, if you just run enough, you would love it. And I was like, there is no amount of running to make me love it. So they make me feel bad that I'm not a runner, and I make them feel bad for them loving something that I don't understand. We would not be in a community together. That's why there are running communities. And for me, that's why there are communities for people like I'm allergic to everything. So I have a bearded dragon lizard. Some people think that's crazy, right? I don't understand why people have dogs because I've never connected with animals that make me sneeze all the time. So I don't hang out with people who have dogs online. I hang out with people who have bearded dragons, and we share pictures of them and we think we're really cool. So you have to recognize that nurturing first is about belonging, which means you hang out with people who don't think you're crazy, who don't judge you for your decisions, right? Who think that thing you do is super cool, whether you're into 3D printers or you're into traveling all the time, or whether you're into one of my clients, they build really elaborate cards that you send out that take hours and hours and hours when you could go to the grocery store and buy one for $5. These women love this, and it's a community because other people would go, why would you ever do that? Do you think that's a good idea? Well, I don't understand. That's where you don't want to be. They want to be in a community where somebody goes, oh my God, how could you not do that? I love all of your decisions right now. And obviously, you're amazing. That's the number one part of nurture, because we have to go, we believe the same things, at least in the area you're talking about, right? You're not alone. You're not crazy. I do that too, right? And we all deal with a lot of the same problems. Here's our shared vision of the future. I want to live in a world where we all do this more, we all accept it more. And then third to that is the opinions about what's broken that makes this not a thing that everybody loves, right? So that we can go, well, of course you don't, like for somebody who is, say, gluten-free, dairy-free, and a lot of the world is going to think you're crazy. Well, you want to go give in a space where I want to live in a world where it is affordable and it's amazing, because right now it's too expensive to eat this way. Unless you live in California, nobody's going to offer it on their menus, and it makes it really hard and everybody thinks you're crazy, right? I want to live in a world where, so we start in the belonging and the creation of the community, we start voicing the way the world is broken, the way the systems are broken, the way culture has been in the past but shouldn't be now. There's a lot of that in every area of our lives. When we start figuring that out, now all of a sudden you aren't just starting a community, you're starting a movement. And nurture starts where somebody is part of something where the future is better in the way that they want. They don't feel judged for who they are, and they feel like they belong. Now, we can talk totally more about like the results messaging, the conversion messaging, which actually, if you have a community and a business, is the way you want to flow. But any community, whether it is business oriented or not, has to be set around this idea of belonging and a shared vision of the future and wanting to fix the things that are broken about the world and not be so judged. You do that, and then it's actually way easier than you think to get people excited and sharing your stuff, because that is something they do want to be public about. They want to stand behind things that they want to see that are better in the world, and to hang around with people that think they're cool and make good decisions. And if you can do that, then everything else is easier.
Oh, that's so good. I love how you said that, because I think anyone could see themselves there. Anyone could be like, "Oh my gosh, I know exactly what she's talking about," because we've all been there. And I think that's goes back to, I mean, I was homeschooled, but I think it goes back to like the normal lunchroom in high school where it's like, who am I sitting with? And nobody wants to sit at the table where they have to act like there's somebody different and act like they're, "Oh yeah, of course." That's so funny. I love that. It's like I'm a dog person, not a cat person. It's a real divide in the world. You know what I mean? I'm super allergic to cats, and they freak me out because like they literally go from like totally chill to like they look like they're gonna claw your face off. It's like very confusing, but then you're very passionate. My sister, total cat person. So she's got a cat named Chloe, and it freaks me out. I'm like, oh hi.
Oh,
How
my
are you?
lizard who like lays up in here and like sleeps, my mom, she does not.
It's too
And
much
the
for her.
cage is open all the time. So this lizard has like free reign in my place.
If he just crawls right up here during this interview, it's gonna make me so happy. I'm just gonna tell
I could
you.
totally grab him, you guys could see.
Okay, we're gonna need to
We
do
actually
a
don't know if
cameo.
it's a boy or a girl yet, so it's hard to tell with these.
It's so funny. I mean, every time I do a live and my little chihuahua decides that this is the day that he needs to just be the loudest small 3-pounder of all time, I do question like my choices. Like maybe I need an iguana or a lizard or something that's
I
very
feel that way
quiet.
about my children.
Right. Don't we all?
The amount of times they have like literally I've got a picture of my daughter on the edge of my computer while I'm on an interview just being like, "Feed me."
Stop. That is really funny. Isn't it always like that? It's only like right when you're doing something. Like Jude, my son, he's so chill until I'm on the phone. And I've like literally started being like, okay, honey, so I'm gonna get on a call and this is how it's gonna go down. We're gonna do, and then it's like, okay. And then I'm like, hi, Matt. And I'm like, I don't, we literally had an agreement about this like 5 seconds ago.
Well, you're still in it. Mine are 8 and 10 now. So I'm moving into the area of life lessons, like understanding relationships, understanding things, which is I love the parenting correlation to business because it's the same thing. Like your community will shift. Your, the way, even what you care about and the platforms you want to be on and where you want to be will shift. Like what you're known for will potentially shift. Like all of those things change, just like what you worry about with your kids will change over time. So also recognize when you're building community that and nurturing you've always got to, like, part of what we teach is the engaging questions that get everybody else to answer, so you're not the center, because market research can also build buzz simultaneously for your business. But the idea that we know our audience today, tomorrow, and in the future only works if we're constantly asking. And the great part about it is, you know what people love to do? They love to talk about themselves and tell you the things they love and care about. And so, actually, as a leader, taking yourself out, like Simon Sinek's Leaders Eat Last, right? It's like, if you stop putting yourself at the front of the community and you put yourself at the back, making sure you've shepherded everybody through into the same place, now all of a sudden everybody does this work for you, and you don't have to worry so much about actually being the one who does all the stuff, which is great. By the way, that's why communities burn out and entrepreneurs burn out, is because we do too much, because we know
Yeah.
we know we're pretty good at it, and we're not very trusting that everybody else is capable of doing their job right in the beginning. You have to learn that. You have to learn delegation. It's like one of the hardest things of entrepreneurship is learning how to, like, trust a team and build a team and let go of things. That's the same thing with your community. Like, don't manage it, facilitate it.
It's so good. Can you touch on the other pieces, the results messaging and that, just so that we can kind of like check that off in our minds? Because I think that like it's really cool because when you're talking, I'm like, oh my gosh, she's such a genius. Like as you're speaking, I'm like, this girl just knows it, you know? And so I want to make sure that we're capturing it too.
Well, and it's a good point that you make too, is that in entrepreneurship we're often jacks of all trades. Like, they'll tell you in any kind of in any kind of real branding, you're picking your audience, you're picking your areas, and you're really niching. We believe more in emotional niching than we would demographic niching. I generally tell people, when you're working in your business and in your community, understand the emotions that drive your audience, what their frustrations are, what they wish the world looked like, where they feel judged, all of these areas where they want to be better but keep falling short, why they can't do it themselves and why they would need you. You understand the emotional part of that. And then generally, over time, the real demographic of them, like the demographic niches, like, is it new moms, is it moms at all, like, you start to see who actually pays you and joins the community and engages. So I tell people, go after emotional niching first, and then you go, and that's part of what our results messaging is. So if nurture messaging is about belonging, a shared vision of the future, and seeing what's wrong with the world, agreeing on it, and wishing, like you said, you're homeschooling. Well, I have a lot of friends that were homeschooled, where that's becoming more of a trend right now. There's a lot of people making really good money in the homeschool space, and they can absolutely talk about why they think traditional education is broken, why they think our kids need to be homeschooled, and why it is a better future for everybody, right? So that's easy to do. In the results messaging, it is about getting them to see that where they are no longer serves them, right? Getting them to see that where they want to go is where we share the vision of where they want to go. We both want the same result, and that how you get them there is unique to them. Because I could go out and I could teach marketing and nurture marketing to anybody. But the way I talk about it, the systems that we create are very specific for the woman, and specifically the mom, right? The mom, although we do get guys and non-moms that do this, like I said, people that have chronic illnesses, sick family members, things like that, that has a disruptive schedule, that has a completely unpredictable schedule, but still has to find a way to be creative, productive, all those kinds of things. We also have a lot of women that we in our messaging, we talk about the emotional side, have a hard time with visibility and being seen, because they're scared about it, because of so much of the identity shifts that we have when we become moms and move from being a woman who is working on her career or advancement and value there, into being a mom and then trying to merge the two. So results messaging, things that we break it down to, is we say we have a results framework. A results framework is when you can draw on a picture, right? When you can draw on a picture exactly how you're going to take money from point A to point B. So one of ours, for instance, you can have multiple results frameworks for different aspects of what you do. But you're like, the overarching one for us is a pyramid, and it says movement, momentum, and velocity. So I can within 90 seconds tell you, right, that right now, especially as a mom, what you're doing is you're in movement. You are pushing it up the hill. You're doing all the work. Everything is on you. You're trying to figure it out, implement it, manage it, and execute all at the same time, right? And it's really hard. right? We're going to move you up with our systems into momentum. Momentum is where you're still pushing, but you're getting a little bit help, right? Facebook is starting to recommend you. People are starting to talk about you. The word is getting out. Things are getting easier, right? We want to ultimately get you into velocity where you don't have to do so much. Your kids are like empty nesters out to college and you're trying to figure out what to do with yourself because you've got extra time, because all of the systems and everything move for you. The nurturing has happened. The community, the movement has happened. And now life is easier, which is where you have less stress, more money, right? And so that's a simple way of us showing this is how we get you from point A to point B in a very succinct way, right? Then we do things like denormalize the pain. Most people in your guys' communities or the communities you're trying to build, they are taking whether it is health, whether it is stress management, whether it is parenting, whether it's life coaching, like trying to figure out how to be happy, whether it's staying married, whether it's co-parenting, it doesn't matter what it is. Some of what the reason they haven't taken action on what they should take action on is because they've normalized the pain. Of course, I'm achy. I'm over 40. Of course, I don't get any sleep. I'm a mom. Of course, I haven't made revenue yet. On the average, companies take 5 years to make revenue, right? Whatever it is, they've normalized that pain. So your job in results messaging is to denormalize that pain, is to tell them that that is not normal. That pain you have, that is not normal. That is the culture of old. That is the old medical field that tells you that when you're 40, you're achy and that's normal. That is not true. And that's where the nurture messaging and the results messaging start to merge really nicely. They flow really well together because we are going to be able to denormalize the pain. Then we pour lemon on the paper cut. Lemon on the paper cut is reminding them what their problems are, reminding them how sucky it is, reminding them how it doesn't have to be that way, right? And then we have to know what their catalysts are. And their catalysts are the things that actually get them to take action, right? They're like, oh my gosh, my favorite pair of pants that have fit since the beginning of the time no longer fit, right? Oh my gosh, my kid's getting married or my brother's getting married and I can't even imagine somebody taking a picture of me, right? Like I am broke down in the hospital sick because I haven't gotten any sleep because I've worn myself down, right? My husband is talking to me about counseling and potentially separating because we can't, we haven't spent time working on our relationship, or whatever it is, right? My business cannot sustain itself any longer. In 6 months, I'm going to have to shut down if I don't do something. Those are catalysts. Those are the things where the oh crap moments. When we can start to recognize what the oh crap moments are, we can start to show our audience what leads up to that oh crap moment so we can get them to buy from you and solve the problem before the oh crap moment happens, right? Because your person that calls you up and without you selling says, yeah, I need you right now, that catalyst has already happened. That's a very small percentage of the audience where the catalyst has already happened. Right. The doctor says, if you don't do something now, this is going to happen. Right. That kind of catalyst. You've got to market to the people that haven't hit that catalyst yet, that aren't prioritizing buying from you. So the results messaging is all about creating that framework. And then the conversion messaging is all about actually getting them to then prioritize it right now. The conversion messaging is being more active. Like, this is what I see all the time. You're too passive in the way you talk, like moving it into active mode. You're not result oriented enough, right? Like there's not enough hooks. You're too wordy about the way you say it. And the conversion messaging is all about the succinctness of what you're saying, about the way you're actually getting them to say now is the time, and the active voice. That's where all the testimonials and the social proof and the, getting people excited and all that kind of stuff goes into that conversion messaging, because that's where the actual like get them to say yes now happens. I mean, this is a really high level way of talking about. There's all the nitty gritty in between there, but if you do all three of those, and it doesn't have to be as hard as it might seem, then you get a lot of magic. You get it growing without you making so much effort. You get everybody loving and being loyal to you. You get featured more. You get quoted more, right? Because you're about a movement, not just about buy from me. The results messaging is like, holy crap, not only there's 1,000 other people that could do what you do, but I want it to do it your way because I see that you understand me and I see that you're trying to get me to a result I want in a specific way that's specific to me. And then the conversion messaging goes, holy crap, if I wait another day, then the world is going to end. I can't wait any longer. I have to do it right now.
Oh, it's so good. And you know what I love so much about what you're saying? Because when you're talking, literally, I see it as being like these like mountain peaks, right? Like this is what we're trying to achieve. And then your nurture to convert is really the journey in between the peaks to really help them actually get there. Because
Mhm.
when you're talking, I'm thinking this is exactly why you have to be passionate to be a entrepreneur. You have to be. Right.
Totally.
Because if you're not passionate, you're not going to tap into this. Like so
No.
many people, I think, live their lives. And I like how you talked about the cultural like denormalization, because how many things in our lives are all normalized through culture. Like think about like network marketing, for example. Everyone's like, "Oh, I'm so allergic to network marketing." So then what happened? A huge wave of affiliate marketing. It's the same thing. It's just a little bit different, right? You're still marketing to your friends. You're still leveraging your platforms. It's just that there's the less cringe effect. Well, why is there a cringe effect? Because normalize what's normalized in culture says that's gross. So this isn't okay. So then you had to get more creative, right? And I
Yeah.
find it so interesting because if you look at culture, you have to ask yourself, do I want to be a part of that culture? Right? I'm a believer. So I'm the kind of girl like be in the world, don't be of the world. So I live my life all the time like, yeah, but like that's true for them. It's not for me. Like that's not my pathway. And I'm totally comfortable at any
Mhm.
point to bail out, like to hit the eject button and just like,
Yeah.
that's not for me. But when you're speaking, I'm like, yes, like I really hope the audience is really like absorbing what you're saying and getting their thoughts together on how to actually do it, because it's absolutely crucial. It's the
Yeah.
difference in success and a lack thereof. And I think that so many leaders, they really struggle. I love that your compound word for the year is thought leader, because it's real, right? It's like so many people, they are almost like regurgitating what they're hearing, but what or like out in media,
Mhm.
and then they're like, okay, I'm going to coach on this. But it's like when you're talking, it's like I'm seeing it, especially being like a beneficiary of what you've built. Like I love what you've built. I think it's incredible. You answer those questions. There's a sense of community that's really powerful. It's inspiring, like honestly, because there are tons of people who create tons of groups and have those goals, but yours stands out among the rest, which makes sense why Facebook is like, these are the cool kids, go sit with them. But you really built it, and you've done that from heart and from a natural need. I mean, when I found out you were a single mom, I was like, what? She does all this, and like I was like, wow, like you literally do it all. Can you talk a little bit about how you've leveraged Facebook? Because I know that you've taken, that's why I was talking about the mountain peaks, because you've taken the right fundamentals of how to build a successful business, and you've matched it with a solution, a plan, right? Like you're, whether it's like a little, I think the best ideas are on like cocktail napkins, right? Like you're sitting with a
Absolutely.
friend and you're like, this is what I need to do. My husband wrote a book called Entrepreneur, and he would literally write little handwritten notes on cocktail napkins, and it would be like encouraging ones. And so it's so fun. But when you talked about writing it down on a plan, how to get from here to here, I was like, I thought about that. But in addition to just having the right strategy, having the right nurture to convert philosophy and proprietary system, how do you leverage Facebook? Because I know there's some rules that are always changing. Like one is you don't want to put a link in your post because they're gonna decrease it, right? Put it in the
Yeah.
comment. And you see those things take life. Some of the posts go viral in a group and some don't. So what are your little cheat sheets that you're
Yeah.
seeing right now that's working with Facebook algorithms?
Yes, I love that. And by the way, that the multi-level marketing, the thing like that, it's good. One, with that, hang out with people who think those things are cool, right? Don't hang out in places where people that don't think, find your place. I find for most entrepreneurs, actually, the things like MLMs and things like that are actually really great launch pads for a lot of people, because it's like a franchise. It's like opening a Taco Bell with, instead of opening your own restaurant, because you're taking somebody's already crafted idea, already thing that they say works, and then you're learning the skills of selling and all that kind of stuff on your own, right? To sell something that already exists. For we have to recognize that there's a percentage of us entrepreneurs that already have an idea, we already have a passion, we already have a book we're going to write, a podcast we're going to start, a product we're going to sell, a way we're going to coach, and we know it's like a kid that's like, I knew I was going to be a ballerina or a policeman when I was a kid. Most of the population doesn't know. They don't have that clarity. So instead of us looking at someone who's in an MLM and going, wow, like they've really bought into this bad, this bad system, because some are good and some aren't, just like every company or every product. Look at it and go, oh, they just haven't found their clarity yet. They just haven't found the thing that's truly unique to them. And so they're going in and putting their foot in to actually learn the skills of entrepreneurship with the safety net. And I think there's nothing wrong with that. I know a ton of people that have moved from there into something else. And a lot of those people end up starting their own companies and are very successful at it. So I like to also say that every time we look at something, let's flip the way we're looking at it, and say, how could this actually be useful to a population? Because you want to be more inclusive in the idea that people are capable, because you cannot, this is what I would tell you repeatedly, you cannot grow a community that is successful if you do not believe people are capable. Because the only way to truly grow a community that doesn't burn you out is to allow other people to do the work, right? Which means I want in my community, I want other people engaging. I want, oh, by the way, this thing turned on my computer. So you might see balloons. You might see, I have no idea how to turn it off.
I
but
know
I've
how to
got
turn it
thumbs
off.
up.
I know how to turn it off. There's a
Okay.
little green button at the top of your screen with a little camera on it.
Yes.
If you press on that, you'll see a little drop down and it says reactions. They hit us all with this. And it's probably going to be
you're like
green. So if you press on it, it'll turn off.
Angel.
I literally dug so deep to get those off. And they always would try to pop back up. And I'd be like, no, go away. Get out of here.
I've had like a really serious conversation in a group thing and balloons start going off. I was like, what did I do to prompt the balloon?
Literal same. It's
Yes.
so funny. It's
Yes.
like
Oh
the
my
best.
gosh.
I feel like when you see real life, that is it. And by the way, I love what you said. And so I'm going to give you a thumbs up in addition to Apple giving you a thumbs up. They like what you're saying. You're talking about how great they are at community, the concept of community. But it's so good. And honestly, I have a lot of friends, same thing. They started in MLMs and they took what they learned and they did something else. And a lot of people shouldn't be creating products, to be honest, right?
No.
Like they're creatives, they're marketing people. They just need the joke my husband always makes is like, they just need a yard to drag a bone into. But if they start trying to build the yard and nurture the yard, everything's going to go wonky. So I think it's really my point in it is that like, whatever it is, and I like how you said that, like flip the thinking around it, whatever it is, you have to denormalize it, like you're saying. Because I'll be honest, like I've had some health stuff that I've dealt with for so long, it's embarrassing. So when I go to a hospital, I'm like, well, I'm in my 30s and I'm having a lot of shortness of breath. When I walk upstairs, sometimes I have to pause. They're like, what? Like, that's not normal. But to me, it's become my normal. Like having migraines every day for 3.5 years has been my normal. And literally like the fall of last year, I was like, I'm done. Like my compound word is self-care. Like this year, I'm tired of like just stuffing it all and powering through. I power through in meetings. I power through launching companies, sitting on boards, like doing all the things, being a mom, being a wife, being a human, and then I'm like, wait, I actually don't have to live like this. And so when you were saying that, I was like, you can't see me because I'm out of the studio when you're up, but I'm like literally in the back, like praise emojiing you.
Well, here's something interesting that you said that's really relevant to the idea of community nurture. And then I'll absolutely answer your question about the Facebook, hacks. And that is that what you just said is the reason why so much of the marketing online can work perfectly. Like they just came out with stats of how many people are buying directly off of Instagram and directly off of, and that's only going to grow because we want to see things that speak directly to our needs and directly to what's broken. So I got hit by a car when I was a kid on a bike. So I have asthma and I have like all sorts of health stuff, right? And allergies that are like epically, terrifyingly bad. And so basically I've gone to doctors all the time and they're like, nothing's wrong with you. You have no nerve damage. There's nothing wrong with you. And I was like, but my arms keep falling asleep. So something is wrong with me.
Something's not right.
I also have a lot of people that are like, Dana, life is easy for you because you're skinny. And I'm like, the only reason I'm skinny is because if I don't do yoga, I literally can't feel my hands and my hips I get the restless leg syndrome, I can't sleep. Like, I was like, so you like looking at me going, oh, but you're fit. I was like, yeah, but I'm only fit. I'm lazy. I'm a naturally lazy person. The only reason I'm fit is because my body's broken, right? So always make sure you don't make those assumptions, but that's what we do. So we find communities where we get together and recognize each other. But the point I was making is I saw on it's Instagram, Pinterest, I can't remember where. But it was basically this chiropractor that was like, if you've had this long-term injury and all the medical establishment has told you that there's nothing wrong with you, but you have these chronic lingering pains and those things, then you're our people because we know that there's something wrong with you and we want to help you fix it in a place, in a community that understands that you don't have to live it. So they're denormalizing the pain. They're recognizing the catalyst. They're doing all these really great things. I walk in, and from the moment that onboarding totally validates what I've gone through, validates how long I've been trying to fix it, validates in marketing you would call it the common enemy, right? The common enemy in any kind of good writing, with Frank Kern does this amazingly, tells you like, of course you haven't been able to solve that problem. The whole world teaches you the wrong way to solve that problem, but we know the right way. So now instead of me going, well, I've tried everything, why would you work, to going, well, of course I've tried everything and that didn't work. They weren't you. Now I'm way more likely, which I did, to hand over a lot of money, and they have freaking changed my life. I'm about 5 months in, and it is life changing. Like, I actually need to post a picture of what my neck and spine look like 4 months ago to now. My arms don't fall asleep. I love going in there. It is such a cool community. They're so like-minded to the things I care about from a health perspective, and I love it. So the same thing for you is like, you go into a place where they make you feel like there's something wrong with you, or that you don't get it, right? A lot of the medical establishment will do that. Like, I'm not sure you really know what's wrong with you. We know what's wrong with you. And you're going to find a place that goes, no, 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 like, they've got it wrong. We're going to have a good. And so that's really important. Now, the great part about Facebook is you can play into people's desire to voice their opinion, agree with you, tell you how they think, and engage. And so when you're in Facebook, there's a couple things. Number one is the whole link within a thing, but putting it in the first comment, that doesn't actually work if you're getting really, really great engagement, because then your first comment never gets seen after, because it starts, if you're getting 20, 30, 40, 50 comments, that whole drop it in the first. So if you're popular enough, you get to do whatever you want. So the point is let's make you popular enough in your own community that putting a link in there or telling something about somebody or about something doesn't matter, right? Now a workaround to that is there is a thing called guides, or also features, right? So you can have every video you make. I recommend that if you're doing videos, and we like to do, like, if you're doing a weekly video, in your group, doing it live versus not doing it live, we find has very little to say on how it actually performs. So do the one that works best for you. But when you're done with the video, you put it in as a feature, right? You put it as a feature. And what that means is that when people come into the group, they are given the first feature, whether that's an announcement of some kind or anything like that. But I like to put your videos there. And so what happens is once they watch that video, it goes away. And now the next video that happened earlier that they haven't seen, it shows. So what it does is it starts showing this library of videos to you every time they come into the group. And you can get really great views on content that you did 3 months ago, right? Because as new people are coming in, they're being rotated through this series of content. So that's a really great way that even if someone's not seeing your stuff right off the beginning, all of your videos, you can be staying as a leader in that space. And we like to do two things. We do one fill a gap video and then one permissions video. And a fill a gap video is getting them to change the way they think. It's exactly, if you've ever watched a webinar and you've been like, well, I want to do webinars where I really teach, because this one didn't really teach, but they sold like crazy. That's because they did teach. They taught you to think a different way. Really, the best books in the world, they don't teach you how to functionally do something. Like Profit First, it teaches you how to think about how you manage your money better. Now you can go and buy all the extra stuff that teaches you how and hire all of his certified consultants. And Profit First, we use it. It's amazing. But it makes you think differently. So when you're in doing videos, if you want to really get engagement and get everybody loving you, you put them as a feature. Do a video that is a fill a gap. So get them to say, hey, you thought this way, but now I'm going to teach you how to think about it a different way. So that you get in their brain at 2 a.m. when they wake up and they go, oh my gosh, I've been thinking about it all wrong. And then the permissions are the ones where you just tell them you belong. We both have this same problem. You're not alone. Everybody deals with it. We deal with guilt. We deal with these things. You deal with the sales not working. You deal with whatever it is. We're all the same, right? So those videos, you put them as features. Next thing is your questions, right? Almost half of what you, even more than half, 3/4 of what you're putting in your own group shouldn't be you posting things or being smart, right? It should be you asking questions, getting the community to engage. There's multiple ways to do that. Number one is decision support. A great way to build buzz is to actually ask people in your group to tell you what they want, right? Do you want, for instance, I have clients that are in luxury wedding photography, and they have a group for photographers. And one of the questions before they're making this new opt-in for ads, They went into the community and to their email list, right? So it works for both. And they went in and they said, hey, which one of these three would you most want in the next month, right? Would you want us to teach you how to connect with planners better? Would you want us to teach you how to make your portfolio more luxury? Would you want us to teach you to how to actually make your website more engaging and alluring to the right audience? And what they do is with that, people want to share their opinion, right? They will take the rule of thumb is if it takes somebody more than 10 seconds to think of the answer for what your question is, it's too high of a question. So don't ask them what their favorite, number one thing is. Don't ask them what their biggest challenge is. You're asking them to think too much, right? But if you say, which of these three do you want most? Then people, all they have to do is go 1, 2, 3. And then the people that actually say more, those are your super engagers, and you can connect and engage with those people. The great part about that, so don't ever do polls, by the way. If you ever see a poll in Facebook, you're just killing your engagement. So don't do polls. Ask them 1, 2, 3, right? Get decision support on opt-ins you're making, on products you're going to build, on what their biggest frustration is, like on things that you might put in Instagram or LinkedIn or TikTok or somewhere else that are hooks. Like, what is the actual hook? Say, which of these 3 statements would you most likely share out into your own community, right? And now all of a sudden your group becomes more engaging, more community oriented, and shared more by Facebook, but they're actually giving you the answers to what might work outside of the group, which is really, really helpful, or what products you should make, right? So it's a form of market research, decision support at the same time. Next, you can ask them opinions, right? Even for us in our moms group, we just say, hey, what week do you guys start school at the end of the summer, right? Like, hey, what are you someone who loves the holidays or gets stressed out on the holidays? Right? When we're doing live events, we go, hey, which of these 3 furniture would you like? We're coming out with the new Boss Mom book. Which of these 3 taglines that we're tweaking would you like best? Which of these 3 covers would you vote for? Which of these podcast covers would you like? Which of these 3 guests would you rather see on my show? So you start asking these questions that are really easy for people to answer. It builds buzz for the things you guys are coming out with and doing in the future. It actually gets people to understand more of who you are, right? Because if you're going in and you're saying, "Hey, I'm a parenting coach that that specializes in integrative play," right? Then you can go in and say, "Hey, which of these 3 things would you want to put into your into your daily plan family most, or which one of these things are you dealing with the most now, which is like, I want to homeschool my kids but I don't think I have the time, like I want to teach my kids how to play independent play, like I want to." And then all of a sudden they start to notice in somebody else's group or your own exactly what you do, because now they start to go, oh, well, she's associated with integrative play, like she's associated with parenting coaching. So you build up authority in those days. At the same time, everybody's answering in the comments and you're engaging in the comments, and then that gets spread the word. And then the very last thing I will say, because I know I have talked forever, is that the more that you or someone on your team goes in and engages with not just your own posts but other people's posts, the more Facebook will recognize that you are somebody that is a high engager within your group, and it will show your stuff more. Okay. Also, if you're posting things, say this works really well in other people's groups, so it could work in your group too. But if you're building up your group, going into a couple other people's groups, and then they'll see, they basically, you don't even have to tell them you have your own group. People will just start to see, click on your profile, and as long as it's easy to see that you have a group within your profile, so make sure that's the case, then they will come and hang out with you. But if you're in other groups and you're actually starting to ask questions and engage, what will happen is that more people within your group or that group that engaged with your content will see more of your content. So your actual real ideal client within your own group will start to see more of your billboard or sales content, right? And training and things like that, than anybody else that wasn't engaging. So you don't actually have to have, because a lot of your audience, I was on Amy Porterfield's podcast years ago, and she said, Dana, I really want more, like really only want people in my group that are going to like my ideal client. And I was like, that is absolutely not true. You want a nice like a nice bullseye board, dart board of the people in the center. Because the problem is the people that are center, that are usually your ideal client, that are like actively working to solve the problem you're solving, they're going to stop engaging in your group as soon as they're solving that problem, right? Most of those people aren't going to stick around. You want a nice set of people in the community that are the sleuthers, the ones that are a year away from engaging anything, but they like everything. they look at everything. They actually bring your engagement and your popularity up. You've got the people in your group that may not buy from you, but they're the policers, they're the helpers, they're the people that like to flag people that mess with the rules. They like to have your back when somebody says, "Oh, I don't like the way this group is run," because it doesn't matter how good your group is run. People that, break the rules aren't going to like you for it. Those kinds of things. You have the people that are cry on my shoulder. I'll get on the phone with you because I've got time. Half the time, the people that aren't successful in the thing yet that you are teaching are the ones that have the extra time to be helpful in your community. So having that nice rounded flow actually works really well for your engagement. So help facilitate that when you see somebody that's going in and they are flagging content from people that are breaking the rules. We reach out to them. We've mailed actual gifts to some of those people to be like, thank you for doing what you're doing. We don't want to recognize you publicly because you probably don't want everybody to know, but we love that you care so much about this culture that you want to keep it as tight as we can. And so we love you for that. We've reached out and been like, thank you. I constantly see you hopping on chats with people and connecting with people and telling them you're here to listen. Like, thank you for being that person. And then because we reach out and we make them feel seen, they do it even more. And they're not on my team. They're not people I'm paying. They feel a social obligation to make the community work. All of those things together, I know I just rattled off a crap ton of stuff, but all of those things help to create engagement in a way that Facebook rewards you for.
Oh, it's so good. You're cracking me up because you keep saying, I know I've rattled off. Well, I'm literally taking notes. You are so smart and so articulate, and you do such an amazing job. It's no surprise to me that you've built this massive empire. And I know you're humble, but let's call a spade a spade. And I'm so excited because it sounds like very soon we're going to be seeing your second edition of the Boss Moms book. So can you tell us a little bit about what we can expect to see in there?
Yeah. So as you guys move through phases of your business, you're going to move through phases, right? And I have been known for a long time as being, as I'm on here, a community builder, right? And I have a deep passion. You had mentioned being passionate. I call it being ranty. Like if you're not ranty about what you're talking about, that feels very passionate to other people, and it's hard to grow something. But what I'm really, really passionate about is actually more on the the self-development side of for moms. I'm actually eventually in my 50s. My plan is to get a PhD in behavioral psychology so I can do a real true published work, sciencey style, right, on moms and the identity flow that they go through as moms, and why I believe that every single mom should start a business at some time in their lifetime, because it is the ultimate journey. Like it is the ultimate self-development journey, and I have real deep beliefs about that. And so I want to talk more in this area and topic. We've really developed to the point where it is self-sustainable, the way we do marketing, the way we do those things. Like we even have, the ability to come in and learn how we do our system so that you can train and coach on it. We have certification, like those kinds of things. So that's really, really well defined. What I want to move into this year is so much more of the leadership role from the emotional development side, because we see so many women and moms, some men too, but moms just have this thing that happens when you become a mom, this added layer that they try to implement all the things we talk about, whether it's our strategy or somebody else's, but they're trying to implement it, and they're having a hard time seeing the success they could, because there is some of this self-development discovery that would allow them to be visible, allow them to be ranty, allow them to be more brave in their marketing and their content. And being brave in your content right now is really what's working. It's working the best. It's where I've been told by my friends that do more of the decide what's happening in the market. They call it the era of messy marketing, which I love, right? There's more raw, there's more real. And so I want to be moving more into that. So the new Boss Mom book, it's actually, we're playing with the fact that it used to be the ultimate guide to raising a business and nurturing a family like a pro. Well, instead of like a pro, it's going to be and find yourself in the process kind of thing. And it is so developed more. It's about twice the size of a book because it was a relatively small book, but it's so much more about the emotional, the identity process. We have a lot of systems in there we have an actual system of how to get rid of guilt. Like it's not just get rid of guilt, do things you love and you won't feel guilty. we believe you have guilt because you are unsure whether you're making good decisions. A lot of what we do in marketing makes us feel like we make, and investments we make in our business make us feel like we make bad decisions, because most of the time they're not giving us good results, because marketing and messaging is all about playing. It's all about testing, right? So 80% of the time you're going to look like you're failing. The good entrepreneurs take the 20% and run with it. So we want to help move through that, the process of understanding how to get past some of these things that we feel as moms, so that you can get into the actual success and the excitement and the people that say that they don't like social media. It's because there's so much of their baggage that keeps them from the parts of social media that can be really, really vibrant and fulfilling, and how to let go and not worry about all the other stuff. So the book is so much more about that. The leadership role that I want to move into this year and in the future is so much more about that side of it. And then once we've gotten through that side, the second part is, well, great. Well, we'll show you how to do the messaging and the marketing and all that stuff. So we've got the book that'll come out in March. We're going to have this huge giveaway. I'm very excited about it. So we'll release all of those things. Everybody's going to help us make some decisions in the community as we're building buzz for it. And then this summer, we're going to be working on to launch in the fall a Boss Mom app that is about a productivity and habit app for moms, specifically for moms with businesses. So I'm super pumped about that. And that, yeah, we have so many other plans in the future. I have 5-10 year plans, but that's where we're moving into now. So it is less of me being a coach, less of me being a community builder, and more of me building more, helping more people be community builders and be leaders and be moms that, like, I don't believe that we need more CEOs in the corporate space. I think the women who know they want to be CEOs are CEOs and are moving up in that space. I think most women want to be the CEO of their own business so that they can make those choices about what they want to do with their time and how they want to make money and how they want to develop. And I think more women who start their own businesses end up moving through the self-development journey necessary to figure out who you want, what boundaries you want to keep, how you want to run your family, how you want to live, and brave enough to do those things. So our goal is to help another 1 million women start their own businesses in the next 5 years. So that's where we're moving.
Wow, that's incredible. I love the vision and I think it's so powerful. I think you're making a huge difference. And I really love what you said about you have guilt because you're unsure about what you're doing. I think that's really a key thing for people to take away too, is like understanding that sometimes we just need to shift our thinking and that will shift our lives. So thank you so much, Dana. You're literally amazing, so inspiring, such an amazing thinker. And we're so honored to have you here today. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I'm Rachel McCord, and I love each and every one of you. And I'm so grateful for your time today. I'm so excited to see what you're going to do next. So be sure to jump in the app and let us know what questions you have, what other things you want to hear about. We are here for you. We're so excited. I will see you next time.